Good afternoon, Twitter. I'm spending my Friday night in the affluent Bay Area suburb of Millbrae, where the county is presenting a plan to turn a hotel into 100 homes for unhoused residents. It appears that the entire city is here, and they are pissed. What the Do you just want homeless? Like, at this point, you just want homeless people. You're like, no, you don't get it. The city's culture and seasoning is only uplifted by homeless people living on the streets. This thread is going to get you hot, just warning you. Some background on Millbrae. It's home to SFO and has, like many cities in San Mateo County, a very high median household income, $141K a year specifically. Also, like many other cities in San Mateo County, they've built very little housing in the last decade. County Executive Mike Callaghy is doing yeoman's work right now, trying to explain functional zero and how our lack of affordable housing in San Mateo County and extremely high incomes means that our area is unaffordable to most and pushing people into homelessness. The crowd is rowdy and angry, booing the county exec until he's drowned out completely. I am going to lose my mind if I watch this. I am going to say things that will probably get clipped. I'm going to try. I don't have a button like Ethan does, but this makes my blood boil. Americans would live execute homeless people for fun, I swear to God. The crowd is rowdy and angry, getting back to these guys who are Swifties, but instead of enjoying Swifties music, they are stands for killing homeless people. They're booing the county executive. We're on to public comments and questions now. Someone from a nearby homeowners association wants to know how this will affect their property values, street safety, etc. Because, of course, county staff are attempting to answer questions, but people outside are clearly having their own conversations, yelling and drowning staff out. Another question, why are you taking care of homeless instead of teachers, police, and nurses? Why are we taking care of the homeless? So that's a really funny question, because who do you think homeless people are? Do you think they just materialize out of thin air? It's precisely, well, not the police, of course, get the fuck out of here. But like, yeah, nurses, teachers, other people that clean your fucking toilets. Those are the people that get priced out because they are not being taken care of and become homeless. That is the whole point. County Exec Callaghy, all housing is important and needed in this county. Author's note, that's goddamn right. Someone else asked why Millbrae is the only option for home key projects. Author's note, there are more than half a dozen other home key projects throughout the county and other cities. Oh no, don't give an author's note. Don't let them know that that's happening. I think I saw Alan Fisher comment on this one time. I think people should just do this shit and not tell people that they're doing it. I'm not even kidding. I think that in the United States of America, I think local governments should just do it without telling a single fucking soul and not even let it leak into the public. No public comments, none of that. We're just doing it. I don't give a fuck what your concerns are. Suck my fucking cock. Just do it. Magically. Just do it. All of a sudden, you have social workers that are on the streets. Slowly but surely, less homeless people are out and about. And you just don't even notice how that happened. But one day, magically, all the homeless people have disappeared from the streets. Who knows? Because ultimately, your analysis or the way you perceive the world is still going to be the same. I'm local government. We legally can't do that. I know. I hate that. I hate that. That's what I'm saying. That sounded bad. Haha. I've come to the opinion that we should not even tell yeah, I 100% agree with this. I've come to the opinion that we should not even tell the public about some projects. We should just build it and then let them figure it out eventually, because literally nothing good comes from doing this. Just people about to die bitching about their property values. Homeless shelter, I'm not telling them. New transit line, I'm not telling them till the shovel is in the ground. Public housing, yeah, nah, just build it. Yeah, no shot. Because like, it's one of those, it's my direct democracy is actually really bad take. This frustrates anarchists quite a bit when I talk about it. And this is technically, I'm stealing from Slavoj Zizek a little bit, because I do agree with him on this issue, not many others, but this is true. It's not that democracy has major flaws. It's not that at all. It's that if you are to deliberate on every minutia, you can't get anything fucking done. That's it. Just fucking build it. And you say they did that with Cop City? Yeah, except that doesn't fucking matter, does it? Because when it's something that the government actually wants, that is actually defending capital, like police getting more money, police getting a new training facility, then they just do it. So do it like that. That's the issue here, is that you think, like, for example, Chicago gives a fuck when they build a police academy in the middle of a fucking black neighborhood, instead of taking those goddamn funds that they got from Rahm Emanuel selling off public property into investing into their education system. No, they just do it. They don't care. They just do it. They do it when it's a police academy. They never do it when it comes to like actual initiatives that will combat genuine problems and just help starving people, give them shelter. They don't do that. Can you explain how putting homeless people in homes with lower property values? I'm lost. Yes, these people are stupid. They're thinking short term. They're thinking that in the short term, in the long term, they just want to kill homeless people. Let's be real. But in the short term, they think having a having a hotel, an abandoned hotel that is now operating as a homeless shelter is going to diminish property values because people think, oh, dude, what the fuck? There's a homeless shelter right there. All of a sudden, your house, whose property values have increased year over year, is now no longer as expensive because other people are not going to want to buy it because it's next to a homeless shelter and nobody wants to be next to homeless people. Ironic, considering that they are next to homeless people all the fucking time regardless because they just exist, but they're on the street. When they do it with a police academy, they don't get voted out. When they do it with a homeless shelter, they do. NIMBYs vote. I know that. They should just lie and say their property values will go up. Those people are dumb hogs who just need to hear that buzzword. No, but they won't believe it because it's icky and gross in their minds. Oh, this?
Got caught into this argument once with anarchist groups, friends. They claim we hate states, we want small communities where in a self-transparent way we organize our lives, we run our lives. I told them on 2 counts I'm opposed to you, even on 3
2 counts I am opposed to you.
I told them I love things when they really function like that. But are you aware that in order for this to function, you need a good, efficient state to organize the complex background? Like, okay, you organize distribution of electricity. Fuck you, where does electricity come from? It has to be rendered available. Education, healthcare, and so on and so on.
True.
So again,
it almost goes against the face of like collectivism and all of its many benefits. Like there are so many things you just simply cannot pull off in hyper-localized communities. And then also he's going to get into the problems with direct democracy.
The second point, I even doubt to provoke you a little bit about this local democracy, this even my good friend Alain Badiou, I think, goes too much into this, that our ultimate goal should be not representative state, but living local democracy where people are immediately present, self-organizing, and so on and so on. Now, I will give you a very brutal argument, but it was made once by Trotsky in a very intelligent way. Namely, to be brutal. Would you really like to live in such a shitty local democracy situation?
No.
Every afternoon, you have to go to some stupid meeting, how we organize the education of children, how we distribute water, how we do this, that. No, sorry. I want to live in a nicely...
It's not freedom at all to have to engage in direct democracy for all of the minutia. It's much better to just like let the state handle it, which is why you're supposed to fucking vote for the appropriate handlers of such matters. That's why I often will make a selfish argument for combating homelessness, right? The selfish argument for combating homelessness revolves around not having to consistently engage in acts of mutual aid, charity, having to lend a helping hand, especially when you yourself are personally not equipped to be a social worker when you see a homeless person. You're not. That's why we have division of labor. That's why we live in societal formations. Not every single person is supposed to be individually a social worker, but the situation as it stands currently requires you to be one. And that's ridiculous. If the fucking government worked appropriately in the way that it's designed to do so, there would be no homelessness happening because we're already fucking paying taxes so that we can fund these sorts of social safety nets and the people that are actually trained to engage in helping people in crisis. You know what I mean? It's so fucking stupid, right? And then you get motherfuckers saying, well, why don't you put homeless people in your house? That's why. I mean, that's part of it. That's part of it. That's what I'm saying. It's like, that's not how you combat homelessness. You can't combat homelessness that way. You can't do that. Every single person being like, all right, let's have a random stranger come and live in my fucking house, who the fuck wants that? No one wants that. I don't want that. Maybe you want that. Maybe that's for you. Go off, have fun with that. But what do you mean? It's like just as stupid as like Republicans being like, you personally hate borders, but you have borders outside of your house, or you have a gate in your bathroom. There's gates in public restrooms. It's like, yeah, of course there's fucking walls in a goddamn public restroom, you fucking idiot. It's incredibly stupid to just like, to reduce this argument, thinking that you can basically, individual acts of charity your way out of like systemic issues, when the individual acts of charity unironically exist already to try to solve the systemic problems and has failed time and time again. Let's say I put a homeless person up in my house. Let's say I do that. Okay, tomorrow there's 10 new homeless people, because homeless people are not born out of like, they don't materialize out of fucking thin air. They're born out of being priced out of the housing market. So I didn't even do anything. I didn't even put a dent in it. That's literally what people are proposing in my city, and they're backed up by 2 levels of government. Just let the homeless people sleep over if you're a homeowner is the official policy here. That's insane. Also, no fucking shot. Homeowners that don't even want homeless shelters to be propped up in areas, don't even want affordable housing to be propped up in an effort to combat more homelessness from happening, are not going to ever allow a homeless person to sleep in their house. They don't even want a homeless person to sleep on the fucking street 3 zip codes away. Why the fuck would they allow a homeless person to sleep in their house? That would require them to see a homeless person as a human being. I've said this so many times. There's a lot that is wrong with the American mentality, but perhaps the absolute worst cultural phenomena in the American existence is the hyper-individualism paired up with American exceptionalism. It is at the heart of every single issue. It makes Americans so easily duped. It makes Americans the most malleable public that you can persuade in any direction you want to. Oh, I'm sorry. You want to fucking combat climate change, you pussy? Okay, how about you personally recycle your plastic? How about you get an electric vehicle? How about you put fucking solar panels in your house? Okay, you did that. That didn't change our reliance on the fossil fuel industry. It didn't magically fucking design green energy grids. You know what I mean? You cannot one guy your way out of these systemic issues. And for the record, those initiatives that I mentioned were also cultivated by the oil and gas industry itself, because they know that Americans are hyper-individual. They know that Americans will get duped by that fucking propaganda. But you can always go, be the change you want to see in the world, idiot. How do you want people to deal with this then? This is not what having any crumbs of direct democracy has in Turkey. Brother, I love that you're pointing to this example when this identical thing also exists in America. I already accounted for it. It only exists for when capital owners want to make money. So if it's going to exist for the government doing bad things, how about it exists for the government doing good things for once? But the only time you see me advocating for this kind of like lack of direct democracy, your immediate counter to it is, well, look, what if when they do this? No, this is barbaric. I think it's fucking unacceptable. This happens all the time, for the record. This happens for initiatives that are about redirecting more funds to the police force. This happens whenever the government wants to take away funds from libraries, public institutions, again, to redirect funds to its police force. This happens when you're building a new fucking police academy. This happens when you're building Cop City. This always happens in one direction, never in the other. It never is in the direction that actually helps people. New comment. Where's the environmental impact report? County Exec Calgary is explaining that permanent supportive housing projects like this are exempt from environmental review under state law. We love to hear it. We got our first we pay our taxes comment. Then how many supervisors live in cities with home key projects? Author's note, pretty sure at least 3. County Manager Callaghy, do you care about our children? They are our future. Again, this is the rhetoric being used to oppose housing for the homeless. God, I hate this shit so much. Next question. Can't you house homeless people in the rural areas of California instead? Why should they live here? Because jobs are here. Even if you think homeless people are not fucking humans, but instead a pack of hyenas, okay? You have to understand one thing. Those people probably originally lived there. They had jobs. This is how it works. Holy moly. And if you don't actually create affordable housing, mixed income housing in these areas and increase housing density, you are going to keep having more homeless people just materialize out of out of thin air. I love when someone goes, by the way, I pay my taxes. First of all, bitch, so do I. And that's the point. I want my taxes to go to this sort of shit. Especially funny because not only do we here in California pay a fuck ton of taxes, we also vote on ballot measures. Ballot measures that actually increase taxes, that actually fill the government coffers, specifically for initiatives exactly like the one that they're trying to implement. So, ironically, these fucking dipshit yokels are arguing against the democratic process when they hold up these sorts of things from happening. Because the entire state of California has already decided this is the good thing to do. This is a smart thing to do. We've decided that it's the right thing to do, and we've actually decided on initiatives that will tax us even further, specifically so that the additional money that we are generating in the form of taxes in a fucking ballot measure, the most direct democracy you can get, will create exactly this. That is what is so deeply frustrating about these kinds of idiotic fucking takes. First comment to Caligies tonight that I disagree with. He says none of in this room created the situation, but we're trying to fix it. On the contrary, the people in this room and people like them are the entire reason we have a crisis to begin with. Exactly. Next question. Why this site? Why not somewhere else? This could be right next to my house and a homeless person could wander in and threaten the safety of my family. Yeah, once again, no, he wouldn't. But you know, the likelihood of someone having a mental health episode in your immediate vicinity is significantly higher if they don't have a place to stay with shelter. So you're so fucking stupid that you're advocating against your best interest once again. I hate these people so fucking much. Someone just asked how giving homeless people homes will solve homelessness. And reader, I screamed, County Exec Calgary, housing the homeless is the responsibility of every city and town in this country. Overwhelming boos. Got pulled into a long debate with someone standing next to me. The last question was, why can't this just go in San Francisco instead? The same person next to me is also complaining about the new market rate housing in Millbrae. How do we vote to stop this project? You do not. Someone in the audience is once again screaming about environmental impacts and how an EIR is needed here. Calgary reminds folks that the state housing law means EIRs aren't needed for projects like this. People are now shouting, hollering. Dude, I love the environmental impact report streamers. I love that. EIR is an environmental impact report. They are using greenwashed initiatives to try and stop like this project from continuing. Just like when they say, what about our nurses? What about our teachers? They do not care. This is the mind of a reactionary. That person probably votes Democrat. Let's be real. That person probably votes Democrat, but they're fucking disgusting piece of shit liberals who are psychotic reactionaries when push comes to shove. That is deeply frustrating to me. And they will use anything and everything to get their way. They're in there stopping a fucking empty hotel from being repurposed into a place for permanent shelter for 100 homeless people. And instead of saying, wow, this is so wonderful, I'm glad we're doing this because the state democratically voted on doing this, okay, because they did, they're trying to say, well, what about the environmental impact report? Like, shut the fuck up. You do not give a fuck about the environment. They are adopting the aesthetics of the other side of aesthetic liberalism as a countermeasure, as a way to stop like actual real material benefits from coming to people just like themselves. It is so fucking annoying. It's no different. Yes, it's concern trolling. It's the same bullshit that like Republican psychos do whenever Republican psychos will vote to like melt homeless people into biomatter, but the moment that like we're talking about immigration into the country, they go, what about our homeless? It's like, bitch, I heard you speak about homeless people yesterday. You were talking about how you want to shoot them dead. Fuck you mean, what about the homeless? You don't give a fuck about the homelessness. You don't care. They love using other problems as a cudgel. It is the same exact shit that you heard from MSNBC when Joe Biden was pulling out of Afghanistan, and MSNBC was like, well, what about the Afghan women? What about the Afghan women? Who will save the Afghan women? As though the only way to save Afghan women is by continuing to do imperialism in Afghanistan. Next question. Why are we focusing on this homeless housing crap instead of truly affordable housing for single mothers? Implies that many people are lying about their income status. Wants to know how the county will verify people that are actually homeless. Yeah, dude. You, in your mind, don't even want to live in the vicinity of a fucking homeless shelter. But you think people are just going to lie and be like, yeah, I'm actually making $100,000 a year, but I'm going to go live in the homeless shelter. This is the same exact phenomena of conspiratorial-minded freakazoids that pop up in the immediate aftermath of every new natural disaster that is caused by anthropogenic climate change. Understand, it's no different than when Republicans say, oh, it's door control. Oh, it's because there wasn't a good guy with a gun. But when there's a good guy with a gun there and it doesn't work, then they're like, okay, well, what about the door control? Okay, well, it must be a government conspiracy. When you run out of options and you refuse to see the reality that is knocking on your door, you refuse to recognize the very real conditions and the very real solutions to said conditions, you run out of options and you start saying insane shit like this. Homelessness crisis actors, dude. Why are you placing a homeless shelter in Millbrae when Millbrae has no homeless problem? The question after that, how can you do this when the sheriff can't handle the homeless problem as it is? Incredible juxtaposition. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I wonder why there's no homeless problem. There fucking clearly is a homelessness problem there. There's a homeless problem everywhere. Tom, a 32-year-old resident who lives next door to the project, says he supports it. He immediately gets booed. He asks what he, as a neighbor and resident, can do to help make this a success. Things are getting real rowdy. A woman is refusing to step down for the podium after her minute speaking, saying she deserves more time since she organized a petition that got 5,000 signatures, tons of screaming, cheering for her, booing for the county. Next commenter is very worried that the unhoused people who move into the project might get $100,000 tech jobs, not reported, then get very low-income housing and cheat the system. Someone in the chat also pointed this out. This is what I mean when I say I hate liberals. This is why this community constantly fucking cringes whenever everyone's like, oh, dude, you're such a lib. You're such a liberal. You're such a libtard. It's like, this is the major difference between someone like myself with my ideology, with the way I see the world, and someone who is self-interested and someone who claims to care about progressive values, but rarely ever will advocate for them when push comes to shove. And this is, like I said, no different than the hogs that think that every mass shooting is a psyop. They run out of options. This problem is becoming more and more obvious, and they run out of defense mechanisms against it. So now they're just claiming that these guys are going to get the jobs or get our jobs. They're going to take our jobs. Someone says, don't sugarcoat this. It's a homeless shelter. Lots of cheering. Says he wants an independent study to show Millbrae can afford this project. Meeting is over now. At the end, Mayor Schneider, a staunch opponent of the project, rallied the crowd and told them that Millbrae City Council will convene a special council meeting this week to try to figure out what they can do. People mobbing Supervisor Pine in the aftermath of the meeting. One woman told him he will be directly responsible when the first child gets molested by an unhoused person from this project. Unbelievably awful. Looks like the Millbrae residents found my thread. For the record, I couldn't care less. It should be a crime to destroy communities like this, and people like you should be imprisoned. Menswear guy roasting NIMBYs in my mentions now. This thread has officially made it. Jordan, do you live in Millbrae? Not you typing this in Utah. I truly don't understand how cruel people can be. There's literally no reason to go against this. Those are human beings with no homes. You wouldn't want a dog to sleep on the street, but how can you let humans do that? It's so cruel and heartbreaking. I hope everything goes well. Yeah, because they care about dogs. They think dogs are cute. Humans, on the other hand, homeless people, they do not think are human beings. That's the difference. They do not even think that they are actually fucking dogs. They think that they are just pure evil, a manifestation of pure evil. It also stems kind of from the understanding that, like, this is a consequence of morality. Like, if you're poor, you must have done something that is the reason why you're poor. You're not a victim of circumstance. It's because you're poor due to, like that guy who just said, kill yourself. We're talking about housing homeless people, and that guy's response is, kill yourself. That's so sad, man. I want you to do better. I want you to live a better life. I promise you. No matter how angry you feel about how whatever the fuck people have said about you, I want you to do better. Like, how do you look at a situation like this and your response is kill yourself? That's crazy. The reality is, like, it's not going to happen. I don't really give a shit. I get way worse statements on a daily basis. Just remind yourself, like, is this a good thing that I feel this angry about a random person I've never met before? Why do I feel like, and I don't mean like good as like some morality that exists in the ether. I mean, like, is this good for your own psychology? Is this good for your own soul, if that's what you want to believe? To have this level of anger, is it healthy for you to have this level of anger?